Once upon a time, in a cozy little town, lived a very kind and hardworking shoemaker. But times were tough, and he had become so poor that he had only one last piece of leather left, just enough to make a single pair of shoes. That evening, with a heavy heart, he carefully cut the leather, laid all the pieces neatly on his workbench, and decided he would finish the shoes in the morning. He said a little prayer, trusting that things would get better, and then went to sleep. The next morning, when he walked into his workshop, he couldn't believe his eyes. There on the table was a perfectly finished pair of shoes. Every stitch was perfect. Every seam was flawless. They were the most beautiful shoes he had ever seen. Just then, a customer walked by his shop, saw the shoes, and was so impressed that he paid a very high price for them. The shoemaker was overjoyed. With that money, he could now buy enough leather to make 2 pairs of shoes. That night, just like before, he cut the leather for 2 pairs of shoes, left the pieces on his workbench, and went to bed. And guess what happened? The next morning, he found 2 pairs of exquisitely crafted shoes waiting for him. They sold instantly for an even better price. This magical pattern continued night after night. Every piece of leather he prepared would be transformed into stunning shoes by morning. Soon, the humble shoemaker wasn't poor anymore. He became quite wealthy and famous for his wonderful shoes. But the shoemaker and his wife were very curious, who was helping them create these masterpieces every night. They decided they had to find out, so one evening, instead of going to bed, they hid behind a curtain in the corner of the workshop and waited as the clock struck midnight. The workshop door creaked open, and in scampered 3 tiny little elves. They weren't wearing much, just some old, tattered clothes. The elves hopped onto the workbench and, with cheerful smiles, got straight to work. Their tiny fingers moved with incredible speed and skill. They stitched, they hammered, and they polished with such joy and perfection. It was a marvelous sight to see. They worked tirelessly until all the shoes were perfectly finished. Then, just as quickly as they had appeared, they danced out of the workshop and vanished into the night. The shoemaker and his wife were amazed and deeply grateful. These little elves had saved them from poverty with their kindness. We must do something to thank them, said the shoemaker's wife. They decided to make the elves a special gift. The wife sewed tiny little shirts, pants, and jackets, while the shoemaker crafted 3 pairs of perfect little shoes. They also prepared a wonderful feast with tiny cakes, sweet treats, and delicious drinks. That night, instead of leather, they laid out the new clothes, shoes, and the feast on the workbench. Then they hid again to see what would happen. At midnight, the elves returned, ready to work, but when they saw the beautiful little outfits and the amazing spread of food, their eyes widened with delight. They knew it was a gift from the kind shoemaker and his wife. The elves quickly put on their new clothes, which fit them perfectly. They looked so dapper. Then they ate and drank, laughing and celebrating. After their joyful feast, they danced happily around the workshop one last time and then skipped out the door, never to return. They had done their good deed, and now they had been thanked. From that day forward, the shoemaker and his wife continued to prosper, always remembering the little elves who had helped them. Their story teaches us that kindness and hard work are always rewarded, and it is just as important to show gratitude and thank those who help us along the way. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe for more wonderful stories.